Hi everybody, Miss Pam here at the Wetlands Center. I couldn't come to you this year or this spring, so your teachers and I got together to figure out what we could do. And so I'm going to visit with you on your computer. And can you guess what we're going to talk about today? Look at my hat. What do you think? Frogs, right? This is a Kermit hat. I thought it was appropriate for today. So we're going to talk about frogs and toads. And frogs and toads are amphibians, which is a large word, but is just a category or classification for frogs and toads and salamanders. And it means double life because does a baby frog look like a grown-up frog? No, not really. They're tadpoles, aren't they? And tadpoles don't look much like an adult frog. So let's look at the life cycle of a frog and a toad. I've got a handy-dandy little life cycle block here, and I've got it so I think you can see the eggs, these tiny little eggs right here, super tiny. And if you've ever held Jell-O or felt it, it's kind of rubbery and soft, right? That's what these eggs feel like because frogs and toads lay their eggs in the water. And the mother frog, when she lays her eggs, she lays them and then she leaves. They're on their own. And you know they can lay a lot of eggs. A bullfrog can lay 22,000 eggs. That's a lot, right? But bullfrogs are big and lots of things eat those eggs. So she has to lay a lot so that some of them grow up to be adult bullfrogs. Okay, so little tiny eggs, they look like they're the size of a pinhead. They have a clear circle, like a bubble around them, and that protects the little tadpole that's going to grow in the middle. And it's also food for them, too. And the little black dot, that's the yolk. That's also where the tadpole is going to grow. And down here, you can see tadpoles in the egg starting to grow. Now, they look like little commas, don't they? But they do have a little tiny head. And right now at this stage, even in the egg, they have what we call external gills. And what do gills on a fish do? They allow it to get oxygen under the water. And that's what the gills on the little tadpoles do, even while they're in the egg, because there's water going back and forth too, through the surface of the egg. So the little tadpoles with gills, outside gills, and then up here, now they're starting to look more like what we think of as a tadpole, right? Little tail, looks like a big head. Now their gills have gone inside. They're internal. They're inside their body. And that's where they're going to stay after they wiggle out of their egg. They don't, there's no shell to break, so they have to wiggle out of that gelatin. And this is what we think of when we see a tadpole, right? Looks like a fish with a long tail. Now, what do you think tadpoles might eat in the water? How about algae? That green, slimy stuff that's in the water. And also other aquatic plants, water plants. So they're at this stage for about a month. And then, depending on the type of frog, those bullfrogs I was talking about, takes them 2 years, to 1.5 to 2 years to grow into an adult. But the little tiny tree frogs only take a month or two. So it just depends on the type of frog. But the first thing is they start to grow from a tadpole into a frog. That happens is they get back feet. Can you see those back feet? Yeah. And then pretty soon they get front feet. And this is pretty cool. I watched one do this yesterday. What will happen, you'll see this, it looks like an elbow poking out of the side of the tadpole. And then if you keep watching, out pops the arm. They really do kind of pop out from under the skin. So out pops those two front legs, and what's happening to the tail? It's getting a lot shorter, isn't it? It doesn't drop off. It gets absorbed or taken up into the body. And that actually helps feed the tadpole. Because also, it's looking more like a frog, right? Its head is changing. And at this point, they're changing what they eat. What do frogs and toads eat? They eat insects. That's right. So their mouths have to change, don't they? And at this stage, those gills are gone. Their lungs have taken over. And they also take air in through their skin, too. It's called semi-permeable skin. Takes in air and water through their skin. Now we have a froglet, just a tiny little nub of a tail. And that's going to absorb or go into the body in a couple of days. And then you have the grown-up frog. And this is a leopard frog, by the way. They're going to grow a lot more to get to their adult size. Now, I have some live frogs and toads to show you. And the first one is one of my favorites. Oh, there goes one of them splashing around. This guy is a cross, kind of a cross between a frog and a toad. They live underground. And we'll see. Oh, he's wide awake here for us. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show you his cool eyes. Look at those eyes. Isn't he cute? Look at those big eyes. Spadefoot toads, as I said, live underground. That's why he's got all that dirt on him. They like moist soil. And they get their name because on their back foot is this tiny, almost looks like an extra little toe. It's a little black toe-like thing that helps them dig into the ground. So that's where the spade is another name for a shovel. So they'll scrunch their back legs and use that little spade to dig down into the soft soil. Yeah. Now, if you look at his skin, I know it's kind of hard because he's covered in dirt. But he doesn't really have the dry, bumpy skin like a regular toad. So that's what I mean when I say he's kind of a cross between a frog and a toad. And there he is. Not very big. Oh, that's his behind. There we go. Okay, I'm going to put him back in. He likes to stay moist, so we'll put some more soil on him. Okay, now the next one is a Great Plains toad. And this is one that you might see in your yard or your garden catching beetles and flies for you because they're helping. Whoa! There she is. This I call her circle toad because she looks like a circle with legs. Oh, there she goes now. Settle down. Settle down. There we go. There. Now you can see her breathing in and out. Now, if we breathe that fast, we probably hyperventilate and faint. But they have a very fast respiration. In other words, they breathe a lot faster than we do. So that's normal for her. Now you notice her pretty eyes, for one thing. And we know this is a girl because if it was a boy, she'd have a little black, almost chin right there. Okay? There, she's looking at you. She's saying hi. Okay, now, she says, no, I'm not. I wanted to show you her back because she's so well camouflaged. And see how that's all bumpy and dry? Yeah, frogs aren't like that, are they? They're slippery and wet. And here's another difference between frogs and toads. Look how short her legs are. And is there any webbing between her toes? No, she doesn't need it, does she? Because they're not good swimmers at all. They only go to shallow water, not deep water. And then I wanted to show you one last thing with her. Now she has a way to defend herself besides being camouflaged. Do you see that bump sticking up right there? That's called the parotid gland. Gland is like a little sac that has liquid in it. And what happens is, say your dog would grab her. Pretty soon, you're going to see that dog start to foam at the mouth, like she has rabies or he has rabies. But what's happened is she lets some liquid out of that gland that burns and irritates the dog's mouth, so it makes it foam. And so the dog usually will spit the toad out. And it doesn't taste very good either. And so the toad, if she's not hurt, will hop away and hopefully has taught the dog, hey, don't mess with toads. We don't taste good and we'll make your mouth burn. But unfortunately, not all dogs learn that lesson. Okay, now we're going to put her in there. I'm going to brush off my computer because it's got dirt all over it. Okay, and I'm going to show you some tadpoles. These are ones I caught out in the marsh, and there's 3, and they're in different stages. Okay, we'll settle down here in a second. Now, that one in the corner has back legs. but they're not huge yet. So he looks still more tadpole-like, right? And you can see his eye and see that mouth, how it kind of overshoots the under part of the mouth. That's so they can scrape the algae off the rocks. Okay, now what I'm going to try and do is very carefully turn this around, because there's one in the middle that has bigger legs. I don't know if you'll be able to see him. I want you to be able to see the one here. What's he got? Front legs, right? Yeah. There we go. Oh, here. Let me see if we can get him to the side for you. Oh, the other one is pushing him. Okay, here we go. There. See the front legs? So he's got his front legs. Still has his long tail, so he's not a froglet yet. There you can see him. This is the one that popped out yesterday. He had one out and then the other one popped out. Okay, big long tails. Those tails also distract predators. So the predator will go after the tail, but not the tadpole, because he can live without some of his tail. Okay, so there we have our tadpoles. Now those tadpoles, those are big ones, aren't they? So we're going to look at what they're going to grow up to be if all goes well and they don't get eaten by a fish or a bird. Here, we're going to put our little guy over here. There we go. Okay, here's our big guy. Oh, look at him. Whoa. He's got his nose pressed up against the front. It's a bullfrog. And now, did you ever notice, have you ever looked at one underneath? Look at that beautiful pattern underneath. And you can see the webbing between the toes, very long legs, right? There and there. Oh, there you can see his ear, that circle behind the eye. And this is a male, a boy, and we know that because the ear is larger than their eye. If it's a female, a girl, the ear is going to be the same size as the eye. And they don't have, they have skin over their ear. They have a good sense of hearing, but that skin is to protect their ears in the water. What was the other thing? Oh, that pretty pattern color on their belly. You think, well, why would he have that? So these frogs are large. They live in lakes and ponds, bigger bodies of water, where they might get eaten by like a pike, which is a big predatory fish. So the pike are down lower, and the frog is swimming across the top. When that pike looks up, that pattern is going to look like dappled sunlight on the water. It also breaks up his form so that it's harder for the fish to see him. And then if you noticed on the top, he's a very deep green color, isn't he? Yeah. And that's so that the birds, like herons, that like to eat frogs like this, don't see him either. He's blending in with the mud when the heron looks down. So they're camouflaged from the bottom and the top because they have to watch for predators from the bottom and the top. Okay, one last look. There we go. Isn't he pretty? He's such a pretty frog. Okay, he's being a good boy. He's not splashing all over the place. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to listen to some frogs and toads. Frogs and toads call. So before they lay their eggs, of course, there has to be a papa and a mama, right? And what the males do, the papas, is they go to the water, even the toads do, because toads, live on land, and they start to call. And it's the boys that are calling. And they're calling to find a wife. And the ones that call the best get the wives, okay? So each type of frog and toad has a different type of call. Like our Great Plains toad has a completely different call than our bullfrog. That's so they can tell each other apart. Makes sense, huh? Because this happens at night usually. And they have to be able to tell each other apart. Okay, now I'm going to make myself smaller. And we'll go ahead and play. This is a whole pond full of frogs and toads. See how many different sounds you can hear. Okay, my little arrow went away. Here we go. Listen right at the end. How many did you hear? I hear 4, but that 4th one is right at the end, and it's really hard to hearing. Okay, see, we talked about that. Now, what I wanted to show you here is that vocal sac. Remember how she had all that extra skin? Now, female frogs and toads do make sounds too, but they don't call like the boys, the males do. This sac makes the sound larger. And the way they make their call is, let me get big here again. So try this. Hold your nose, hold your mouth shut, and try and say hello. All I can get out is a because we open our mouths to get air to our vocal cords. What they do is close their mouth and their nose, and then they push air from their lungs across the vocal cords. Whoa, you almost got out. Whoa. Okay, settle down. He doesn't like the phone call here. There. Okay, a little bit of excitement there. That's okay. Okay, so that way they can call underwater too. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, let me get myself smaller. And we're going to listen to some other ones here. Okay, this is our little spade foot that I showed you, and there you can see his color better. He does have some little bumps, but not too many. Okay, this is his call. So you can hear one answering him. Now, what do you think he sounded like? A way to, something else that he would sound like. Like, I think he sounds like somebody snoring. Okay, so I call him the snorer. So when I'm outside and I hear that sound and it sounds like somebody snoring, I know, hey, it's a plain spadefoot toad. So we'll go through these and you see what you think they sound like. Okay, this is another little toad. He's only a couple inches long, the narrow-mouthed toad. Here we go. That's a fun one. What's he sound like? I think he sounds like an angry bee. Maybe an angry sheep. Okay, now this is our Great Plains toad. The one that I showed you. Completely different call. Kind of crickety, huh? And high-pitched. And if you can't hear, you can go like this. Try that. It makes the call louder. Okay, I think it sounds like a flying saucer in an old sci-fi movie. What do you think? Okay, here we go. This is a woodhouse toad. This is one you probably have in your yard. They'll eat half their weight in insects in a night, and they're big toads. And he's got a big call. What do you think? Does everybody agree? Sounds like somebody screaming, doesn't it? And they really do sound like this. Okay, now we're going to go to the little tree frogs. This is a northern cricket frog. And I lost my arrow. Here we go. This is his call. Isn't that cool? Clickety-clackety, right? What do you think he sounds like? I think he sounds like castanets, if you've ever heard those, or ball bearings clacking together. Okay, this is spotted chorus frog. He's actually pretty rare. Such a pretty little frog, tree frog. This is his call. And it's going to you'll hear a whole bunch of them together. Everybody says, this is how a frog sounds for this one. I think they sound like little wind-up toys. Okay, boreal chorus frog. This is one of the first to sing in the spring. Even in February, they'll start to call. And I bet you'll say, oh, I wondered what that was. Here we go. What do you think? What's it sound like? This one, to me, just sounds kind of ratchety, kind of like mechanical. Then we have the leopard frog. Now, leopard frogs have two vocal sacs. Instead of one big one, they have one on either side. And they have a two-part call, so you have to keep listening. This will be the first part. There's cricket frogs in the background. There's the second part. Which sounds like somebody laughing, doesn't it? They call him the chuckler. Okay, and then we have the bullfrog. And here you can see that huge ear that's larger than the eye. It's called the tympanum membrane. Okay, here you go. Think he's going to have a big voice? Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Wow. I think he sounds like a foghorn. Some people say a bull, a cow. Okay, now I'm going to show you. You tell me what you think. You can do this at home and with your brothers and sisters or your parents, grandparents. You can have a frog chorus from things that you have around the house, like a comb. So which one do you think sounded like this? What do you think? It's supposed to sound like that boreal chorus frog, that one that sings first. Okay, how about this one? Remember about the cricket frog? Yes, I think that sounds just like him. Then we have, this is actually a little wood frog toy. Kind of like the spotted chorus frog, or maybe the spadefoot. Okay, how about this? This is a balloon. Leopard frog. Okay. Well, that's all I have for you today, but have fun with that, and you guys have a great summer vacation, and I'll hope to see you again in August or September when school starts up again. And have a froggy day.